helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes in the blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together and strive forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness in my hands. Life is so a voice in my heart helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes, blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together, stride forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happy
Hello and welcome to our Super Life Secret Codes online workshop. My name is Ryan Sway, and first I'd like to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. I also want to thank our panelists and everybody watching from around the world. Super Life Secret Codes teaches us how to take control of life using energy management. The book was written as a as a man, self, as a manual, self manual to teach us how to, again, take control of life um, using the two codes of love and gratitude. If used properly, these two codes can help us achieve success in every aspect of our lives. Okay, welcome everybody. And tonight we are talking about obviously abundance, but the topic is wisdom for advancement. And what this really means is that we have to use our own, mind and wisdom to bring ourselves to, positivity and abundance. I know a lot of people think in life they're kind of waiting or reacting to things. And you hear people ask questions like, why not me? Or how come them and not me? And this positioning is, not a positioning from, being wise and utilizing all the tools that have been given to us through Super Life Secret Codes. So we really have to be a little more proactive and use our ability to control our energy. As we learn here to manage our energy, we learn how to focus on the positives and we learn how to get rid of the negatives. And the getting rid of our negatives is really a key part of all of this because a lot of people, they focus on the positive or they tell themselves they're positive, but their net energy is actually still a lot of negative. And a lot of people don't recognize or they don't know how to tell or to discover if they are, in fact, if they have more negative energy or positive. And so one way you can do this, it's an everyday daily exercise if you want, is just to go through, list five positives or five negatives and gauge what's easier for you. When we talk about being positive, you should be able to list many things. Maybe five is just, you know, 2 seconds, you can list five things. If you had 5 minutes, you could list 100 things. And then on the negative, when you start to list that, you also have to see, is it difficult to think about negative things? Or is it one of those that you actually have to slow down or kind of cut it off? I know for a lot of people that we do this exercise, it's great when you hear people say, you know what, I can't really think of anything negative. And then it's a little bit challenging or concerning when a person tells you they can't really think of anything positive. So these are, things that we need to look at for ourselves to understand kind of where we are. And then again, this concept of, for tonight, the wisdom for advancement is to use our positive energy to focus on that, to build on that. And, this will be something that, again, we all can practice with our daily, five positives. And can you turn those five into 10 or 15 or 20? And that's always been, it's a great exercise. I used to say, I'm grateful for my family. And then now I can actually break it down. I'm grateful for my wife, Amy, my daughter, Maddie, my son, Mason. And then if I want to do parents and siblings and other relatives, you start listing that. Then I start to think, what am I grateful about for, or what is my gratitude towards them? Something that they have done. And then before you know it, or before I know it, there's 10, 15 things that I'm actually grateful for. And so that's part of this wisdom because many of us focus on the negatives. I know a lot of people who have a tough job. Before they get there, they're already thinking about all the problems. This particular person, a coworker, the boss, the client, the challenge ahead. You can position yourself, and in this case, it's not necessarily, it's not being wise. We actually can kind of sabotage our progress and our ability to make things positive and to build this abundance of positivity. So again, the concept of wisdom for advancement is really important. And today, as we read through the abundance book, there'll be some great tools and messages from Master Sun as to how we can build our wisdom and use that towards advancement. So with that, I'd like to introduce our panelists tonight. We have Vivian from Walnut, California, and we have Amy from Las Vegas, Nevada. So again, thank you, panelists. And so again, we're reading in the Abundance book. When the source is connected, abundance is so simple. And the format of the book is a dialogue between Master Sun and a student. I will be reading Master Sun's section. So if you hear my voice, then you know those are the words of Master Sun. And then Amy and Vivian will be reading the student section. And okay, so with that, we will start things off. Vivian and I will be reading from page 230. And it looks like I start. Let me spotlight real quick. There we go. All right. So section 8, smoothness and 8 facets, the wisdom for advancement and enhancement. We have covered many topics about abundance. Everyone is going after abundance, but it is only an outcome and is only available to those who have expended enough effort in enhancing their energy fields. No matter if it is for the past, the present, or the future, there are very close interrelationships between abundance and wisdom for advancement and enhancement.
I always end up in amazed and then change my behavior after listening to Master. And I always ponder, what is the next step for me? How should I further improve my life and enhance my future?
Through our daily lives, even including our dreams, we should gauge whether our next second will be better, what sort of developments will take place, and what areas will enable further enhancements. Let us talk about wisdom for advancement and enhancement today.
The influence of positive energy. Master wants to teach us the ways to enhance and advance ourselves.
Yes, these desires sometimes are buried amongst the reality of life. People suffer from hardship because they keep encountering nonstop problems. They may have, at one point in their life, been distracted and pulled away from their original desires and positioning of life. Then 10 years pass, another 10 years pass, and much of their whole life is gone.
Wow, that will be a waste.
True. Often we see young people start with sky-high dreams and have impressive qualifications, but suddenly are struck with undesired incidents, and from then on, they end up being sluggish and depressed for the rest of their lives. This is a common reality, and what I want to see is that it has everything to do with energy.
Being distracted and pulled away from the desire of life has something to do with energy?
Yes. Look around at your relatives or friends, especially the elderly, and trace back to their life. Look at how he made his fortune when he was young, and look at how he was struck by misfortune. Then look at how sluggish his life was up till the end. When you have seen the full picture, you will realize they work like gears. Each one propels each other. If you could organize your life in such a way that each component works systematically and harmoniously forward, you will end up with a wonderful life.
If the gears work backwards, one pushing another, does it mean we will end up with many misfortunes? If we fail to come across a good system like ours, is that the end of our lives? If this is the case, it is imperative that we should introduce our system to as many people as possible.
Now you understand the importance of promoting our system. To create a blissful life, it is utterly important that you see the significant influence by energy.
How could I see this clearly?
For example, a person will choose to attend some motivational courses when he is feeling down or being frustrated with his life. He will be highly motivated after the course. Perhaps it will last for 3 weeks or 3 months, but after that, his motivation will subside and he will switch back to original sad state of the backward setting of his gears.
Sigh. Time is just so critical. It is indeed the driver for accomplishment or deprivation.
Hence, you must grab hold of the period when you are being motivated and to create further enhancement to your energy. The other way of saying this is that every second, whenever you can, you must inject more sources of positive energy into your life. This is to ensure you are able to continuously steer forward. By now, do you know what you should do?
I now realize how significant positive energy is. You spoke about injecting positive energy. Where does this energy come from?
Some people like to frequent temples and seek fortune telling. What do they expect from doing so?
Expecting the God to give him some positive energy?
But they are unaware that it is energy. They thought by crying and praying to the God, God will grant them protection, and that protection is a form of energy. You must hold this very critical logical concept. Your belief must blend well with your desired achievements for the future, and both transcend the limitation of time to allow you to integrate well with your present and your future.
It explains why so many people feel motivated after praying at the temple.
The key point here is that you must create your own faith and belief and not wait for an external party to grant you the protection or guidance. Okay, we can pause there. Vivian, would you like to share?
Yeah, from reading these sections, this made me feel it's so important for our life to find a great sister like Super Life Cyclical and then a great master, our Master Sun, who can enlighten us to step on the right path on spiritual cultivation, plus to enhance our energy field. This is very important. Okay, by enhancing our energy field, our wisdom and abundance level will be increased too. We just finished a 2-day concert in the class last Friday and Saturday. And then in yesterday's workshop, Master Song always reminded us to do self-reflect every second. If we find our misbehavior or wrong talking, we should repent right away. This is why Master Song teaches us to use 弟子规 as a ruler to measure ourselves, correct ourselves without giving any excuse or reasons. By doing so, we can enable a further enhancement. Recently, my sister told me about her story. She's also a Super Life Cyclical student. Both of us think following Master Song's teaching is so important. And if we just read the books, know it, but not digest it thoroughly and not execute it in our daily life, it's useless. It's a waste of our time. And as we all know, we encounter different things, no matter good or bad, things are going smooth or not going well. If we have correct logic concept, we will react correctly because we carry correct data here. And then let me share her story here. She told me she and her daughter were in Europe for the past few weeks. They took the train from one place to another. The train arrived at the train station on time. The train station was so crowded with people, men, women of all races and old and young ages, so crowded. And because they were about to line up to get on the train. And then they saw 6 older people who rushed forward and with all their energy just push everybody away. They want to be the number one to get on the train. And of course, my sister and her daughter let them go first. But when those old people were about to, sorry, it should be like my sister and her daughter were about to get on the train. They saw several of the old people blocked the entrance. And then my sister didn't know which language they spoke. And then they just stuck there and without moving. and definitely including my sister and her daughter and all other passengers, all wait outside of the train. And then by looking at the old man, it seems like they got lost. They didn't know what to do. And a bunch of passengers were out there waiting to get in and anxiously. So my sister just said, hey, how about she will do them a favor? So she just kindly asked the train attendants assistance. So she said, hey, can you please help those old people? So it turned out, okay, they find out the old people couldn't figure out the seats. So they thought they found a wrong carriage. And at the same time, the other passengers wait outside and they were shouting. Okay, they say, hey, what's going on inside? We are waiting. And then the attendant also shouted to those old people, you guys were in the correct carriage. The train will be leaving in 3 minutes. Please hurry up, hurry up. And then finally, the old people, everybody, one after another got into the carriage. But one of the old men with 2 big luggage, again, he got lost. He didn't know where to go to move forward or go backwards. He didn't know what to do. And then he just stood there. And then again, the old man blocked in the middle of the aisle. And then again, my sister was behind him. So and then she saw a long line of the passengers behind my sister. And at that time, my sister felt so frustrated. And it's just, she felt like, oh my God, it happened again. Originally, it's outside the train. Right now, it's inside the train. And the same thing. Everybody got stuck there. And then at this time, she told me the habit of having to speak out came out from her mouth. And so she couldn't control her mouth. And then she said to the old man, she said, hey, you blocked at the entrance. And then now inside the carriage again. And then don't you notice there are many passengers behind you? And then right now there are only 3 minutes for everyone to get on the train. So please do something. And then the older man, kind of got a surprise. Someone say things to him. And then he put a suitcase on the left and then right and then said, okay, now you can pass. And then my sister just went straight forward. And then later, her daughter said, Mom, you didn't say thank you to the old man. I told him thank you for you. And suddenly these words knocked my sister's head. And she says, she know her wrongdoing right away. She said, how could she forget to say thanks to that old man? And she said she found that she was a little bit emotional at that time. And then, but right away, she remembered her wrongdoing comes from being hurried. And then she recalled Master Song mentioned that in one of Master Song's workshop, Master Song say, when we cook, we need different sauces, right? If missing one, the taste is different. Apply this same concept to our daily life. We interface with people every day. One mistake will cause this harmonious atmosphere and unhappiness. And earlier, she felt like she's so kind to ask attendant to help. Those old people got upset totally. And then the elderly, and then she told me, okay, she should know the elderly are definitely slow to react, and they are easy to be panicked when they encounter such things. And so she told me she didn't know what's going on at that moment. She lost her patience. And then then we talk about this and we agree, okay, Master Song's teaching is so important to us because there are so many topics every day. And then her story is one of them. Looks very normal, but if we look into the details, isn't it also related to our cultivation? And some people might say that I just talk fast, frankly, seriously, but my intention is not bad. But in fact, words can also reveal a person's inner cultivation. When a person speaks harshly, sharply, and often breaks someone's heart, such behavior lacks of consideration. And it's also kind of only thinking of themselves, not others. So oral ethics is an important part of a person's character cultivation. Speaking well is not only a sign of respect for others, but also a part of our own spiritual cultivation practice. When we learn to control our emotion, not get angry easily, this not only makes us see the world more positively, but also allow us to accumulate more positive energy. We both are very grateful for all the teaching from Master Sun. And by finding mistakes in our daily life, we can stop leaking and enhance and advance ourselves. Thank you. It's just my sharing today.
Thank you, Vivian, for your sharing. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of times, the energy at the moment can really adjust our reaction to things or our actual behavior. And I know a lot of times people don't have the intention to be, like as you mentioned, your sister is a super nice person, so there's no way she like intended not to say thank you or to be short with anybody. But sometimes, we have a lot of another type of energy. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it is anger, sometimes it's frustration. And those moments can kind of take us away from who we normally are. And that's where that's something about Super Life Secret Codes and what Master Sun teaches us, I think super important, is that the results. In the old days, I used to think, well, I didn't mean it to be like this. And that was like my excuse. And then you look at other people, if they take it the wrong way, you put blame on them and say, well, that's their problem. They're frustrated or they're mad or they got problems and that's why they are this way. Now I can look at things differently and I could say, well, it is my job to get a person to feel a certain way, hopefully positive. And if I don't, then I need to make adjustments. And I think that's the part of, the wisdom. And it's interesting, your story about your sister and her daughter. The daughter was still able to, keep her normal kindness, and probably not get caught up in the moment of, the urgency or, the train, running out of time and not have that worry. And so that she can still be who, she is, and be kind to this person and even remind her mother. Right. And so that's a very interesting situation that if you analyze this between the two people, you can see that it's a little something that can make that difference in how people perceive us or how we treat other people. And, hopefully from that moment, it didn't make your sister feel bad, even, more negative, other than, oh, shoot, I should have said thank you. But, some people, depending on their amount of negative energy and where they are, sometimes it becomes a snowball effect. Now they're so worried that the thing that they made a mistake or they feel bad and that takes over and then they can do another thing and it becomes kind of a chain reaction. And ever since learning Super Life Secret Codes, those are the things I really like to focus in on and pay more attention to it, because in the old days, I didn't. And I probably let one thing turn into 4 or 5 things when it could have just been the one thing and I could make an adjustment and move on. But I would allow myself to get consumed with whatever that energy is. And most of the times it was negative energy. But I do want to point out that there are times when you have a lot of positive energy and nothing can bother you. So if you ever have those moments and you can recall that your birthday or something great happened to you, or we were just watching sports, the World Series. I know, people from LA, the Dodgers won. Sometimes those moments when you're excited with positivity, nothing really can bother you at that time. And that's also a tool that we should learn as we mind switch from something bad to something good. I think that is a part of the wisdom as well that we're talking about in this section. If you can do that, you really can allow yourself to move past these negative points and then back onto the positive. And then what's great is, and we'll read a little bit about it in this section, when our energy is right and we surround ourselves with the right people, they can help us. Just like your sister's daughter helped her, remind her of that moment. And that makes the situation much less negative than if someone had pointed out, like a stranger pointed it out, or that person, the old man says, "Hey, you don't even thank me, or so, such a mean woman," or something. It could be really, negative. So again, thank you for reading and sharing your story with us. We'll now go to the next section. And Amy, if you don't mind reading with me on page 234, if you can start the top.
Okay. You are the key to a positive energy field. What Master Sun means is that energy can be generated within or internally. However, we must master the source of energy within ourselves, correct?
Yes, you are smart. In the Superlife Secret Code system, the concept to grasp is that every second, the effect in your mindset and the action taken will determine if you will experience fortune or misfortune in the next second. I always emphasize this concept and truth and hope you can understand. You are the owner and director of your life. This is definitely not a slogan.
Really? Everyone can become the owner of themselves and be insulated from these influence from environment, fate, or family?
This is what happens every other second. It is very true.
I believe what Master says, but what is the theory behind this?
From the start till now, I have been emphasizing the point that you are your own judge of the strength of your energy field and your ability for further enhancement. Stop blaming everyone or everything. Just tune yourself to be like an engine and work forward incessantly. As the universe maintains vigor through movement, a man should constantly strive for self-perfection. This simple phrase sums up what it takes to determine a person's success. You should model after the incessant fighting spirit of a cockroach.
Haha. If the cockroach is so unfortunate to be stepped on by slippers, does it mean the cockroach was lacking in positive energy?
Indeed.
I understand them. I need to groom myself to be a generator of positive energy so that I can be better day by day, right?
Yes. Let me give another concept to you. Listen carefully. This is the key to connect yourself to the universe.
My utmost attention.
Triggering is critical. A person who has done several decades of quality spiritual practice will appreciate the impact of triggering towards our fortune and how it impacts our daily lives.
What Master means is that not only does energy affect the positivity of our lives, another critical factor that affects our lives is triggering.
Correct. Now that you have developed awareness for the need of triggering, go back and spend some time to ponder the experience of positive and negative energy in the message field brought forward by triggering to see how it benefits or damages your future. In seconds, if you can leverage or place deterrents on undesired affiliations, these will affect your ability to open new horizons of opportunities, and whether they be positive or negative, are all factors of triggering.
Well, I need to depend so much on triggering. Can we position triggering? Will positioning affect our future fate?
It can. All the changes that take place following triggering, coupled with our positioning, will result in dramatic, positive, or negative outcomes or changes. The result will depend on your present set. present set positioning. From now on, whatever positioning you set forth, a good flow of positive energy is a determinant of realization of your desired outcome. Let's talk about positioning.
Hence, the quality of our positioning determines the subsequent outcome. This is what you referred to as triggering.
Yes, in life, the right positioning of our spiritual lives is key. If you can see the close relationship between positioning and its effect on triggering of people, events, and matters, you will think very clearly on how to work on triggering positive development and avoid triggering unwanted outcomes. Hence, be very clear and careful when you work on setting your positioning.
Can you give us an example?
For example, someone says something that upsets you. You become disgruntled, and you dislike this person because of what he said creates bad luck to you. The truth behind it is that you have been sensitive to the words he uses in your own positioning. Hence, the words have created a triggering effect to you, which brings forth your subsequent thoughts.
Master, I can't understand why one single word will impose such a significant impact. Where does the fluctuation come from?
Most of the time, this has to do with the setting of your positioning. Such a setting could be regulated within you. It could be due to influence by others and the corresponding standards embedded into your positioning. It could also be due to past life experiences engraved into your spirits.
Wow, now I understand we need to work on positioning for the sake of our future.
Okay, we can pause here. So this section is, it's a very important topic, and it's something that we really must focus in on. I mean, first and foremost, it is up to us to control this situation, to build the positivity, or to trigger or position ourselves in a way that we can trigger positive reaction or results. I know somebody that oftentimes says things they don't want to happen to themselves. And I will question them, and I'll ask them, like, you just said this statement, do you actually want that to happen to you? And she would say no. And so that is an area that I actually share with her. I said, well, perhaps you shouldn't say those things then, because once you say it, it's like you're positioning yourself. Some people would say, don't jinx yourself. Don't say things like, I never blank, blank, blank. And then sure enough, before you know it, bam, that happens. Sometimes we position ourselves in such a way that does create negativity, does tap on bad data. And earlier, during the introduction, this was kind of interesting. And, I haven't had much time yet to self-reflect on this moment. But as we were listening to the music and the introduction, and before I came on to make the introduction, for some reason I thought to myself, what do I normally say during my introduction? And I went as far as grabbing the script that I wrote a long time ago. I just have a copy of it in my file every once in a while in case I forget. But usually it's it's been embedded. It's something that I do multiple times a week for years now. But sure enough, as I started to make the introduction, I triggered something. And I don't think it was from any negative energy, or I'm not in like a bad mood, but I recognize that I did have data. And I actually went through the process. I remembered in the past one time that I forgot what the introduction was, much like I just did in this introduction earlier. And so I had the script in front of me, but then, I have to go read the script, and then that makes it also kind of not smooth and natural. And so my positioning, I had the script out, and then this thought for a moment triggered, I don't know what to say. So I have to go look at my script. And again, this is very unnatural for me. It's something that, again, I do all the time, multiple times a week. And I usually, it's memorized. This is how I open up the, workshops. This is, what you do every time. So I thought, I guess it's opportunistic. It's, perfect timing to have this positioning and then the triggering and then the result. This is exactly what we're talking about here. I somehow, positioned myself with the script and I triggered the need for the script, which in the result, the end result of things was a bad delivery of the introduction. The good news is that, okay, yeah, this is something I'll have to, maybe rehearse again, get it back into my normal flow, but it's not making me, extremely negative or, feel terrible about things and then, allow it to get the best of me. It was just, for me, it's now become like a lesson. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to share something that just happened, 10 or 25 minutes ago. And I think it is exactly, what we're talking about in this section here about positioning and triggering. And so when we talk about tonight's theme of, wisdom for enhancement and advancement, we have to really make sure that we use our wisdom. We have to manage our energy in a positive way so that if we are to trigger anything, we trigger positivity. We trigger good data. And this is something, as an athlete, when we practice the same move, whether it's football or basketball or whatever sport you play, even if you're, not just even, specifically golfers, you hit the ball, people who practice, hit the ball maybe 1,000 times, 1,000 balls in a week or, however much time, but that repetition over and over, that should allow us to, if based on that positioning of us practicing something over and over, then when we trigger something, we know we should trigger something positive because we've put the work into it. So as you think about Super Life Secret Codes and all that, we practice each day, as it mentions here, every second, what does that trigger for you? And what is your positioning? Are you the type of person that goes through all of this work with Super Life Secret Codes as a student, studying, but never positioning yourself as, I am now, a super student? I don't want to say expert because expert, maybe means that we don't have to continue to improve, but let's use the word, expert in the sense that we're very good at something and there's always room to improve. So even if you're expert level, if you're at that level, that positioning should trigger good things for you, right? Think about it. If you're an expert skier, the triggering of going skiing should be something positive that you do well at. So as we here in this workshop and students of Super Life Secret Codes, if we do this every day, if we do this, every second, we should position ourselves in a way that all of that hard work triggers something positive. And if you have that in you, then if you do encounter something negative or challenging, you can then mind switch and position yourself in a way to trigger positive things. And so that's really something that I think for all of us, if we can take a moment throughout your day and analyze yourself. I know Vivian is in LA and, has to drive places, and LA is very crowded. I know people in Asia, same thing. Maybe you're not driving, but maybe you have to take a taxi or an Uber or a subway. But there are lots of people in Asia as well. So what is your positioning in those moments where you're dealing with lots of people? Like Vivian's story about her sister, getting on a train, these types of things. What is your positioning? Are you the type of person that positions themselves in a way that you're always delayed? If we use an example of flying somewhere, for those of you that travel using an airplane, what is your positioning when it comes to the flight being on time or late? And then with that positioning, what does that trigger for you? So for a lot of us lately in Las Vegas, it's been very common for flights to be delayed. And so now the positioning is most likely your flight's going to be delayed, but you still have to get there really early because there's just a lot of people. So that kind of triggers, for me, sometimes I look at, is flying really the best way to go? When I have a choice to drive or fly, I will choose to drive, like from Vegas to California, just because I can control the time better. And I can, in some cases, I might actually be faster than flying because if there's a delay. So again, it's the positioning that, I give myself. I don't position myself anymore that flying is a bad thing because that triggers negative energy. What does that do? That triggers me to look at people like a person, an elderly person, or a slow person, or a lost person, not doing what they're supposed to and holding up the line. That creates negative energy, right? And that creates data. And then you look at that person. Today we talk, the example is an elderly person. What do you think then when you see elderly people in situations throughout, like say traveling and, luggage and stuff? You naturally will think they're slower. Which may not be a good thing if you're in a rush. So you can see, like, if we don't use our wisdom, our positioning can trigger negative things, and we can swim in that, basically, mentally swim in it, creating more data. The world we live in now in the US, there's a lot of this bad data. Situations are now categorized by women, men, women that look like this color, or women are of this color, men of this color, men of this belief, women of this belief. People label people. And so now when you see something wrong, it might be a race of people, an entire race. Imagine that. You deal with 1 or 2, 3 people that have a negative outcome, and now we can categorize a whole race. For instance, stereotyping of Asian people or Black people or Hispanic people or white people, tall people, short people, big people, small people. All of those things, if we position ourselves wrong and we allow it to trigger negative things, we can just walk around, and just by looking at people, it will trigger potentially the wrong energy. And so this is where our wisdom comes in. How do we position ourselves in a way that we can trigger our positive energy? Earlier, I talked about, listing things we're grateful for, positive things in our lives. That's a way to position ourselves to trigger more positive things. If I wake up in the morning and I say I'm grateful for my family, and then I say my wife, my daughter, my son, and I think about what they do that makes me even, triggers that gratitude. When I see them and they do those things, I'm looking for it now. If my wife is taking care of me, or, making breakfast for me, or, making sure I do the things I need to do, reminding me of things, helping me with different things, then I will trigger myself to see these things that she's doing. And you can try it the other way. If you position yourself negatively, where this person is annoying you, where they're questioning you, they're negative to you, think of a boss maybe, or a coworker, and then you'll see all the negative things. So again, we must use our wisdom, but in order to tap into using our wisdom, we tap into our data. So we have to be careful and be cautious of what data we have, because once we trigger it, the result will be what the data is. And that's why it's important for us to be grateful every second and to use steps 1, 2, and 3 to get rid of our negative energy, so that anytime we trigger data within us, we have a high likelihood of triggering positive energy. Okay, so thank you for letting me share, and I'd like to now move on to the next section. Amy and I will be reading. Let me see. There we go.
You'll
add
be
a
starting.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to add a spotlight. And okay. Sorry. Let's see. Those who help themselves will be helped by people and the universe. The need to trigger expansive spiritual practice. If you can come across the Superlife Secret Code system and encounter Master Ted Sun, you effectively can revise and reorganize your body, mind, and soul. You will be able to correct your original positioning and replace it with one that is appropriate for your future.
Well, a complete reshuffling, cool.
There is no wishing or waiting in the Superlife Secret Code system. We are talking about science. It only works with help by yourself, help by people, and help by the universe. Today, you have the fortune to access such universal truths, and you have earned good marks in the aspect of self-help. When you are done with your positioning, you will become likable by all, and this is an example of help by people. When you have embarked on the right direction and things become positive and smooth with the right energy field, this is help by the universe.
All the universal truth shared by Master sound so easy and are so easily understood.
The highest level of truth is the easiest to understand. Hence, from the moment of being triggered, you must complete your GPS within a second. Some people, during their last breath, remorse about wasting their life away and pray to have a better life in the future.
Why?
Because all the memory of present life has been stored into the memory body of the soul and will be repeated in future life. I always push on this. If you do not practice now, when do you want to start? Your only chance is to start practicing in your normal life now.
What you mean is that whatever happens in our present life has already been imprinted into the script of our future life?
Yes. From today on, do not wait for people to give you help. You are your own destiny of life. At this second, if you understand what I told you, you have obtained help from the universe. Understand?
I understand. Can Master explain the interrelationship between positioning, triggering, and energy?
This must start from the information field. It is critical to an individual and is all-encompassing, but it relies on yourself and is a result of your own positioning and is critical and directly affects your fortune. Buddhism talks about 6 senses, including eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind, and they affect your mindset and emotion and determines your fate and fortune.
Can you give us example?
Yes, today, based on present status and condition, you evolve to the causes and setting of your positioning. Hence, from this second on, no matter who talks about what, you will not be affected. For example, we talk about mind switching. You will be able to just treat some harsh advice as a reminder. With such a setting, you hope to hear more from people. When you have seen enough negative things, you will be better able to treat the subsequent negative events as minute or insignificant, and you may end up being grateful to the people who remind you so. With this, you have developed a very positive mindset for yourself and widen your ability to flex and adjust yourself. Whether you can switch your mind has something to do with your positioning.
Everything is related to.
Sorry, we'll pause there.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Okay, would you like to share?
Sure. So today, the topic is the wisdom for advancement, and also Master Sun in this section talks about we all have the power to reprogram, reset, and so don't you think after all, it really sounds like we're kind of like a machine with this hard drive that has a lot of software embedded in it. And it depends on what the software is, and we behave accordingly. So if we have all the right data in the programs, then we can definitely create positive outcome because we follow this program. So life is, if you think about it deeply, if you analyze it deeply, we can understand that we are here to better our programming, better our software, so that we are a better machine. Maybe in the past, through lives, reincarnation, and so many challenges and obstacles, negative experience, we created a lot of negative conclusions. We told ourselves this is this. We also had a lot of sadness, trauma, all sorts of things. And so this hard drive is embedded with all kinds of mixture, negativity. So therefore, it's coming to this lifetime, it's very hard to have breakthrough because we're all based on the old data. So we think this world is this way. So Master Sun is teaching us that we have the power to rewrite. We are the programmer. We can rewrite and reset this hard drive so that we can look at life in a whole different way. This how we look at life is entirely based on our choice. So I remember when I was in college, my professor told us that this was for the graduation class. He said, if you guys graduate, go out there and you can make money while you're asleep, in your sleep, you have made it. And this phrase, this statement stayed with me. And I was pursuing this type of life. When I was looking for a job, I always check back with what he said and see, is this something that's kind of close to what he says? But if you look at life, jobs, and occupation, and many people's career, we work every hour, every second. That's how we make money. We take time off. It just depends. Even an attorney, in a week you work 40 plus hours. If you don't work this many hours, you can't make this much money. So we're really like a machine, like a labor, and we have to put in this much hour to make this much money. It's really like, the hamster in this wheel keeps running. If we stop, there's no more profit. So, but of course, in our world, there's some like programmers, IT people in the IT world, they create software, they make money in their sleep because their thing is selling. People just purchase online every second, they're making profit, and that is amazing. So I realized I don't have that. My career, I don't have that. So I'm far from this dream ideal world of making money. But after coming to the Super Life Secret Code system, one day I realized I can make money in my sleep every second, every split of a second. How so? It's by my choice, how I want to, which path I want to choose this second, positive and negative, because energy, remember, money is energy, energy is money. So if I choose the wrong path, there's no money, it's minus. So I want to share with you a picture. I have this in my mind, how this thing works. So look at this picture. This is exactly what we deal with every day, every second. We only have two paths. There's nothing in between. Energy only has two ways, positive and negative. We say this again and again. There's nothing in between. If you tell someone that I don't add energy, or I don't minus energy, that is not true. You are using up your energy either way, plus or minus. So every second we're encountering a situation, or whether it's a thought, whether it's words we say or things we do, we are generating positive energy or we're using up our energy. So every second we have the power to choose what we want to do. If we don't think, we are likely to go down to the negative path because we're so embedded, again, from the past experience, from lives. We most people are tend to be negative because we had a lot of negative experience, remember? So we tend to conclude things in a negative way. So be very careful, be very mindful, and watch out. So we cannot ever be on autopilot or not thinking or so-called mindfulness, lack of mindfulness, because we're going to choose the wrong path. So pay attention, and every moment we monitor what is in my mind right now. What am I doing? What am I saying? Am I saying gossiping? Am I slandering people? Am I thinking negative about people and thinking this person is so annoying and look at him, he's so blah, blah, blah. And I don't like him. Look at the way he acts, blah, blah, blah. Are we doing that? Because if we do that, we are deducting our energy. So I know there are a few people I've heard, they think gratitude, love and gratitude doesn't make sense because, people will challenge you with, if this happened, how can you be grateful? If this happened, how can you be grateful? I think this is a concept because being grateful is positive. It's switching your mindset. Of course, you can be negative. You can say, I don't want to be grateful. I want to get mad. Go right ahead. Because you're so welcome to go to the negative path and have your points getting deducted. It's your choice. But if you think smart, if you want to generate positive energy in order to have wealth, abundance, and good health, and all the things that we wish for in life, remember, take the positive path, switch your mindset, being grateful, do all that. Whatever you tell yourself, nobody give you a set script. You do whatever you want to think to make yourself to go on the positive path, which is the left path. So it's our choice. So when I have that realization, I realize I'm not naive. I'm not as negative. I'm not as lack of mindfulness, or I want to be like acting whatever I want because I have bad attitude. I just, I don't care. I used to do that, but nowadays I go, I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to harm myself because this moment I want to be cool. I want to, feel satisfied and say whatever I want. But the next second, I'm going to lose my energy and have some negative consequence. I'm not that stupid. I don't want to go there. So every moment now I pay attention. So every second in our life, we can think this way, your life will change. This is what we call love and gratitude because we're going to choose the positive path, go to the left. I'm going to close this picture. So this is what we call making profit every second, generating wealth every second, because we are generating positive energy, which can convert to money. Okay. And in terms of positioning, Master Sun says we can truly program how we perceive a word or a phrase or what people say. Because when people, for example, people scold us, we get really mad. Or if we're jaded towards someone who has always been doing this or that to us, when we see this person, when we hear this person says something, even though it's not very hurtful, but we have the preconception thinking, oh, you're trying to hurt me. So we right away think this person is negative. So that because due to our old program, so we already decide this is the result. So, but Master Sun teaches that we have the choice to change that. So just think that if this person scolds us, whatever it is, and if every time he does it, then our bank, our money bank increase money. If that's what we tell ourselves, are we going to get mad? Call me stupid. That's okay because my bank is going to have cha-ching, have more money. See, whether it's true or not, that's what you tell yourself. You tell yourself it's positive, it is positive. If you tell yourself it's negative, it's going to be negative. So our mind can be programmed. So if we think this way, then we will get really creative with our mind. We can tell ourselves to curb to whatever way, whatever thing that's going to help us to go to the positive energy, positive path. So I remember I'm going to share with you my bad experience. There is one person who I respect highly, and one time she said something negative to me because I came to the States when I was younger. So I stopped learning Chinese a long time ago. After I came to the States, I stopped writing Chinese. I stopped speaking as much. I don't speak as much Chinese except to my family. But when I'm out there, I speak English. So my Chinese writing is really poor. It may be like kindergarten, maybe elementary level Chinese writing. So when I write things, I have a lot of misspelled Chinese words. And this person saw it, and he one day called me stupid. And I was like, I was so offended. First of all, I respect her very much. Second, why do you call me stupid? I stopped learning. My level of Chinese, it's low. So I'm handicapped in doing this, but the fact I'm writing, I should get compliment instead of, getting, scolded. So I was so hurt, and that thing stayed with me for a long time. Every time this message comes up to me, when I'm even doing nothing and I remember it, I would get so upset. It's like my heartbeat would go up because I can't believe somebody is this rude. And this affects me a lot. And one day I go, I tried to deal with it. I tried to forgive this person, but I couldn't. I couldn't find any reason to forgive her. But one day I go, you know what? I am not going to let this idea controls me. I'm going to change it. And it's okay that this person calls me stupid. I'm not stupid because if I remove me, the I, there's no me, and she's calling nobody stupid. So it's like, who are you calling stupid? There's nobody here. So I remove the I, and I go, oh, it doesn't hurt anymore. So then that is my positioning, that is my programming. And I'm sure everybody has different ways to deal with negativity. Whatever it is you tell yourself, you practice to instill positive to yourself, the more you can do it, you take it seriously, and you don't let other people affect you because our emotion is ours. Our life, it should be controlled by ourselves. Don't let people's words or negative attitude take control of our life. It's not worth it. I don't want to live with somebody's calling me stupid. I'm not going to be okay with it. So from that point on, because once I dissolve it, I communicated with myself, and I was okay with what I said to myself, and I was able to let it go. So that is almost like removing a tumor from me. So I encourage everyone, we got to practice all the things Master Sun teaches in the book. It's not just philosophical things or conceptual things that we hear and go, oh, okay, and let it go. Because if you don't practice, nothing will change. Your program, it's still the same. So please practice and make the best decision so then we can change our life. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy, for your reading and sharing. And yeah, as you were talking about, not the wisdom, like today's theme, as we talked about the wisdom of advancement, is we have to use our ability, our energy in the right way, and not allow other things to get in the way or to trigger us to pick up negative data. So like your story of your Chinese, as you said, you didn't continue learning, or you moved or whatever, and that triggered, that person's comment triggered something, negative for you. And it can trigger many things. And that's the thing about the data. If we work on our energy and we get rid of, all that negative data, then that won't have the trigger point won't be able to trigger that negative data because it won't be there anymore. Or in your case, if you tell yourself like, hey, I'm not going to allow this to happen, that is using our wisdom and having, enough positive energy to correct all that. So thank you again for sharing that. Also want to thank Vivian for her reading and sharing as well. Having these workshops and hearing people's real life stories, it's always a great way to kind of take what's the words off of the pages of the book and, apply it to your own life, hearing about someone else's stories. And so I think that that's one of the most powerful things about these workshops. And again, I want to thank both of you. And of course, I want to thank all the participants on Facebook. And then last but not least, I want to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. Have a great rest of your night in the US and a great rest of your day in Asia. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Right.